Hello, this is Taylor Elwood with Eugene Pagan Pride, and I am the workshop coordinator this year for Eugene Pagan Pride. And with me are the fiendish people who are coordinating the overall picture, the cabal, the hidden cabal, Christine and Dennis. No, seriously, I'm so thrilled to interview both of you. And I want to just take a moment first and just express gratitude for all the work that both of you are doing around pagan pride, and of course all the work the other people are doing as well. But I just want you to know you're really appreciated. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this interview is to make sure that people don't just find out about the workshop presenters, but actually see some of the faces that are, helping put this together. So please introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about you and what inspired you to become Pagan Pride coordinators. What was the madness that went through your heads that made you decide to do it?
Hi, that's me. I'm the bus driver. Um, I have been involved with Pagan Pride in Southern California for many years before I moved up to Oregon. And when we moved to the Eugene Springfield area, I was excited to be involved in an area that there was more pagans and they were ready and willing to do things out in public, and they were starting to plan for the 2020 Pagan Pride, but then the pandemic hit. And the people that are planning for the 2020 event were a little burned out because they've been doing it for the prior years. And so they were looking for someone to take over. And I raised my hand. I decided to do it because I love the community and I wanted to bring about more of an inclusivity to the event and get it to grow, because I knew that just looking at how many pagans I was seeing in the community through Facebook and everything, that we could have a good turnout for the event. And so it was really my determination to bring it forth and bring it bring it more visible, make it more visible for those in the community that didn't know about us. I was When I first started working with the Pagan Pride group here, I was PR and trying to help, market it and trying to get it going. And then everything got shut down. And so taking it over, I was just determined to really, let it grow and see what we could do with it. So that's kind of where I started from.
Okay, and what about the stalwart fellow to your right,
Well,
or
she,
maybe
she
your
does
left?
she does forget to mention that she has the official title now of executive director. One we have spent a lot of hours trying to make sure we're on solid footing, working to get the organization into legal shape. We actually
For
have an Oregon
nonprofit.
nonprofit corporation now, Eugene Pagan Pride, and she's the executive director. Um,
Excellent.
so she got me involved at least partially by default. I'm always going to help her. I've been her logistical support in pretty much every endeavor she's taken on. And so it was pretty natural for me, being a tech guy, to end up coming on as kind of the chief technical officer, just to run the website and take care of any technical needs. Um, Obviously, as last year was their first year, other needs came forward as well. So I ended up taking over the marketing director position as well, and continuing with that as we try to bring in some new marketing people and get some just expand our core group. Um, so a lot of it was supporting my lovely lady here, but honestly, it became very important to me too. Um, and seeing the community grow and seeing the response we got last year, it was very gratifying. Even if there were only a handful of us actually there running the event that day, which was, on the exhausting side, it was very nice to see the turnout and how happy everyone seemed to be.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun last year. That was my first Eugene Pagan Pride, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to be there. So it was a great event. You both did excellent work, and I think for the first year back after the pandemic, it was, it was pretty well attended. I mean, there were a lot of people there, and people that came from like at least an hour or two away, it seemed like.
We had people from all the way from Grants Pass and Portland coming to the event. We were able to pull in Oberon Zell last year because we had connections with him through Kat Gina Cole. And so he was our headliner. And that definitely, I think, brought out some of the older crowd because they know of his books. And I wanted to get some of the younger crowd to understand who he was and how important he was for the neo-pagan movement that happened from about 1965 and forward. And so he's kind of one of the grandfathers of the neo-pagan movement. And so that was important to me to have someone there that could relate to all the ages. I mean, he's a funky little dude. He's quite
not so little.
Not so little, but I
actually,
mean,
but he's a lot taller than I expected him to be.
Yes. And so I think it was a great turnout from what we saw, and we talked to the food vendors. We had maybe about 500 people there. And so, I mean, we had more workshops and more vendors and more entertainment than in previous years, from what I was told. I wasn't able to attend any of the previous years, so I'm going by what I've been told.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'll vouch for the fact that it was a well-attended event. I mean, I was there. It was a lot of fun, and I bet this year is going to be even better attended. I mean, we're certainly working on it, but so I'm excited about that. So tell me, and of course by default our audience, a bit about your pagan journey. How did both of you become pagans?
I think since he's a little bit older than me, he should start with his story.
I don't know if that's necessarily the best idea, but I can start.
Well, Dennis, come on, age before beauty.
I think I always had some magic in my life. I was certainly never discouraged from being an imaginative and inquisitive, and I had kind of rejected Christianity fairly early on, just because it didn't suit the way my mind worked. But I did start exploring ceremonial magic, actually. Donald Michael Craig's work, although Hebrew ultimately was not the language for me, it doesn't speak to me. I saw a lot of value in his work and in the frameworks for a magical study. And then, of course, I was also exposed to Buckland and all of the other, kind of classic Wiccan
Teachers and writers.
teachers and writers. And so I kind of drifted into mostly a solitary Wiccan practice. But I always felt that, I kind of was always very eclectic. I was always going to take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and whatever felt right. Dabbled with chaos magic. And ultimately now I'm studying more left-hand path, American folkloric traditions. So it all kind of comes together eventually. And that basis of having that ceremonial magic, learning earlier on, I think has helped me think through a lot of things as I go.
And you also owned a shop in San Diego.
Oh, yes. I was briefly for about 3 months toward the end of its life, the owner of the Mystic Moon in San Diego, California. Actually, technically Spring Valley, but everyone knows that is San Diego anyway. But yeah, so at the end of its life, I had it for about 3 months, couldn't keep it going, mostly because I think the Judith and Scott had been going out of business for years at that point. And they were listed in all of the Llewellyn books as a resource, all of the classic Llewellyn books. So it was a shame to have it go away. And that was kind of, that was very sad that I couldn't save it, but I tried. It was an interesting experience because that is where I got my first experience in having to do a public ritual, because suddenly I was the owner of this shop right before Samhain. And it was a traditional gathering spot for the community at Samhain. So I got to I'm going to do a public ritual. because people are going to expect one. So that was fun.
So we're both very used to jumping in, into the deep end
Definitely.
without a ton of experience.
Now you can tell them about all of your much more formal training.
Oh wow. I wasn't raised with any religion. My parents were both forced into Catholicism and Christianity when they were young. And so they didn't want to do that to my brother and I. And so when I was about 19, I had been introduced to Buddhism first. And a friend brought me to meetings. There was a Japanese sect of Buddhism. And it was great. It gave me a lot of what I was seeking at the time, because it's more about taking responsibility and being able to change your life from within and being kind of the microcosm to the macrocosm of change in your own world. And so I kind of say it was the vehicle that got me to paganism, because it really did allow me to get more confident and more centered in myself. And then I was starting to feel a little disconnected from it, and just like I'd gotten what I needed out of it. And it was a fantastic practice. It just didn't fit me perfectly. And so then I ended up meeting my good friend Myra at a Buddhist for World Peace Club booth, or a table, I should say, at Cal State Fullerton. And the short side of that story is, through making that friendship through my friend Myra, she introduced me to people, to her friends, who then brought me to a place called the Goddess Temple of Orange County. And it was like all the puzzle pieces I was missing just kind of like came together magnetically, and it was just like a quick shock. And it was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. And if I hadn't been working in that Buddhist for World Peace table, I may have not met Myra, but we had an interesting connection even. And so I got involved with the Goddess Temple of Orange County right away. I became a priestess there. I helped with the rituals there. I learned a lot through them. It was more goddess based and more of it was a center for women-born women only. And so they really didn't have many men events, but my friends and I would do rituals together, and I learned with them. My first books were Scott Cunningham books. And so I was really learning about Wicca in the beginning. And I've done Wiccan rituals, but through the Goddess Temple, I helped with all of their seasonal rituals. All of that, they also had groups coming in, so I helped open up the temple for the groups. So there's a lot of things I was able to do through that. And through that, I found out about the Pagan Pride, and there was an event called Long Beach Women's Spirit Fair, where I got to meet some really well-known authors and really become friends with like Ed Fitch and some others that were in the community. And so it was an amazing opening of my eyes. I've been practicing Wicca and witchcraft for now about 20 years. I'm also now on the left-hand path of American folkloric. And I've really enjoyed the learning I've done. I've done other groups. One was a Druidic group. One was more of a Celtic Wiccan group. And they really did help feed my interest in it, and also help me grow and develop. And I'm more also eclectic, because I feel like I pull from different traditions. Through going to the Goddess Temple, I learned about a lot of different things. So that was kind of my path into finding paganism and witchcraft.
Okay, excellent. Thank you both for sharing that. It both sounds like a very rich history between the two of you. And I imagine it makes for some very interesting magical work and rituals as a result.
It can definitely do so. Matter of fact, we found that our current, you actually have interviewed our current teacher, Lorelei Black. And I found it interesting that Lorelei and I had a brief like sideways connection, because it's likely that we were both at a
Bacchanalia.
Bacchanalia, well, a Yeah, I guess you call it a bacchanalia. It was a rite of Dionysus at Raven's Flight in North Hollywood back in the day, sometime in the mists of the 90s. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
she lived down there
yeah.
back then. Yeah.
So when we were talking about our histories there and things like that, and it's like, oh wait, we were probably both at that ritual. The
And
what
there,
was one I mentioned. She said, "Oh yeah, that because she obviously knows all the players." So
and there's even possibility that I may have run into her as well when I first started practicing. It was probably more on her way out of California, so I'm not sure if we were at the same things, but just the timelines matched up really interestingly.
so serendipity either way.
Yeah, I've had the fortune of running into her a few times. I mean, we've known each other for a while now. She's a very interesting person. Hopefully one year we'll get her out here.
It's a goal.
We've actually talked to her about what it would take, and we are going to definitely be working on that.
Excellent. So I want to wrap up our interview with the final question, which is, what makes you proud to be pagan? After all, it's pagan pride. So
I think community. I think seeing people come together and enjoy learning about the spiritual practices and about the traditions together. Knowing that for me, paganism is super empowering, and it feels like I've got more control over what's going on in my life than maybe in previous years and previous, experiences and studies I've done. And so for me, it's just about giving back to the community and really helping it grow, because it's been passed down through the years, but if we don't have growth from the youth, it can die out just like anything else.
I would have to say that although I haven't always been, well, I guess I've had my time as a public witch or a public and definitely well known as pagan for most of my life at this point. Um, Getting back with pagan pride and seeing what we can do and make sure it doesn't stagnate into that very limited, Wiccan focus, and make sure we can be very inclusive with it, and talk about all sorts of different magical and alternative religious practices. And I say alternative in the sense that it's not based on any of the major world religions, or what have traditionally been considered major world religions at this point. Um, but even that, it kind of blurs a little bit, because certainly we have Christian mystics and witches who are quite friendly with paganism in surprising ways. So I think that's very gratifying to see, and I'm proud of the work we're able to do with that, for sure.
yeah,
Getting it to grow.
I'd have to say that one thing that stood out to me from last year was that there was a diversity of perspectives and practices and beliefs. It wasn't too narrowly focused, which was really refreshing. And I think we see that this year with the different workshops, but also all the other things that are being brought. So I again want to thank both of you for the hard work that you're doing. It's really appreciated and valued, and I'm super excited for this year and super excited to see what happens.
So
Yeah,
are
we're
we.
looking forward obviously we've been excited to have you come on and take over, working with
Workshop.
the workshop presenters, and of course presenting yourself, because we've seen you present multiple times, and we're always happy to listen. So
Definitely.
Yeah, and we'll be doing the Joanna and I will be doing the public ritual too. So it'll
That's
be
going to be
yeah.
amazing.
I know. I'm
Um,
excited.
I'm
Yeah.
super excited to see how the ritual will go. One thing I wanted to kind of finish this off with, because we've been asked a lot of questions about, is it Wiccan based? Is it only for, Wiccans? Is it? And so I want to make sure that I state that it is. We see paganism as an umbrella term, for earth and earthbound spiritualities. And so it's not just Wiccan, it's not just witches, it can be hoodoo, voodoo, udun, the left-hand path, all the different traditions coming together under this just open umbrella term. And so that's something I wanted to definitely share, because I want people who practice different traditions to come out, and I want to be able to try to grow that, also that workshop base in the coming years as well, and getting some different speakers out that may have a different tradition than just Wicca or witchcraft, like the traditional Western traditions.
Well, you already have that with me. I'm definitely not
Yeah.
Wiccan or witchcraft. So there you go.
Yes.
So you know you're going to have at least some variety right there. But no, we do have a good lineup of that. And I think it'll only increase as the time goes on.
Oh, definitely. It
Well,
takes one step at a time.
and for people who are watching this, just so you know that Pagan Pride, Eugene Pagan Pride is August 6th this year, 2023. It's going to be at the Alton Baker Park. We're going to be there all day. You'll get to meet Christine and Dennis. You'll get to meet me. You'll get to meet a whole bunch of other fun folks. And we are going to have a blast. You do not want to miss this amazing event.
One last thing, it is also a food drive for Food for Lane County. So please do bring non-perishable items, canned and bagged goods, to donate to Food for Lane County. Last year we had about 88 pounds of food, and I'd love to try to, up that this year.
Excellent. All right. Thank you both for coming here. And we look forward, we'll have this video out soon for people to watch. And yeah, look forward to seeing you at Eugene Pagan Pride.
Thank you, Taylor.
See you all there.